Hello, and welcome to the Coven of Cards playtest. We'll be running through a full game of the Coven of Cards Sabbath minigame. And before we get into the game, we'll discuss the setup. The first 20 cards of the major arcana of the tarot deck, excluding the Fool and the World, are dealt in a 5x4 grid, and the Fool and the World are randomly placed in a position on the outskirts of this grid. The player token is placed on the Fool card, which is represented here by this red token, and for the cards that we are using the Minor Arcana deck here, a modified playing card deck here. This is two full playing card decks with only 2 jokers instead of 4, and there are only 4 aces, one of each suit, and which means that 4 aces, one of each suit, are missing from the deck. The objective of the Sabbath is twofold. You have 13 turns to create a path to the world from the Fool by moving your token and uncovering cards. Uncovering cards will have a modifying effect on the game world, and the secondary objective of the Sabbath is to once you have revealed these cards, they will each have a cost associated with them. So if I turn over this card in the corner here, it's the Death card, which has a King, Queen, Jack payment cost of hearts specifically. So we can pay that off to capture, as it were, that card. There are 4 actions that the player can take per turn of a list of approximately 5 actions, and those are moving, drawing, which requires you to sacrifice 2 cards from your hand, which will be represented here, and drawing 3 cards in return for those 2. A combo, which is either a match-free combo, so if you have 3 of the same cards, so 3 different 2s, it can be any suits, then that will allow you to scry, which is an MTG term for picking up 5 cards, and you'll be able to place them in whichever order you want, at the top or the bottom of your deck, and draw 1 card after that. You'll also have the consecutive combo. So if you have a 2, a 3, and a 4, for example, that will allow you to draw a Minor Arcana card. The other actions that you have are to pay off a card that you are currently positioned on. There will also be the option to sacrifice 5 cards from your hand to reshuffle the graveyard into the playing card deck. Okay, now that we have our base rules fleshed out, we can now begin the game. The game begins with you drawing 5 cards and placing them in your hand. At the beginning of each turn, you will draw 1 card, and then a Minor Arcana card is drawn. These all have different effects, which range from drawing cards to moving around on the board or moving things on the board around. So, for our first card, it is the King of Pentacles, which will allow us to pick 1 Major Arcana card on the board and uncover it. And then we may look in the deck of cards for 2 regents required in its completion. So I will uncover this card, which is the Wheel of Fortune, which has a King, Queen, Jack of Clubs requirement. So what I can do now is I can pick up our deck and search through for 2 of these regents. Here's the Jack, and there is the King, and I can add those to my hand now. After we search through the deck, we always shuffle. And now the system has had its turn, so to speak. We may now begin our actions. So our actions will be represented by these black counters over here. So we have up to 4 of them. And on our first turn, we will move 1 to the right, or for our first action on the first turn, and uncover the Devil, which has a King, Queen, Jack of Diamonds cost. We don't have too much to do here, so we'll move again to uncover the Tower card, which is a King, Jack, Jack of Clubs cost. What we could do is pay 2 of this cost, since we picked up those 2 cards, which are overlapping with the cost for the Wheel of Fortune. However, we don't want to do that quite yet, and we'll just keep moving for now, uncover up, see what the board has in store for us. So that's our third action. Sorry, I should be paying more attention. That is the Hierophant, with a King, Queen, Queen of Diamonds cost. For our last action, we'll move 1 last time and uncover the High Priestess, which has a Queen, Queen, Queen of Hearts cost. Now that was it for our first turn. We'll move on to turn 2. So we draw 1 playing card, which is the 6 of Spades, and a Minor Arcana card is drawn. This is the Queen of Cups, which is powerful since it allows us to draw 5 cards. Which gives us quite a lot to work with. It's very useful to group these cards where possible. Don't have too much space, but it's fine. Don't worry about it. Now, what can we do? We can sacrifice 2 cards to draw 3. So these will go into our new graveyard, and we can draw 3 cards where we get a 5, 6 and a 7. This 5, 6, 7. Okay, so yeah, our draw was our first action. We will now play a combo, which will be our second action, so say that's 2. We will now play a combo. Since we have 3 consecutive cards, we'll send those to the graveyard, and that will allow us to draw a Minor Arcana card, which is the Ace of Cups. This allows us to look at the top 4 Minor Arcana cards and decide to put them at the top or bottom, or decide to put 2 at the top and 2 at the bottom of the deck. So we have the 8 of Wands, the Page of Wands, the 9 of Wands, and the 6 of Pentacles. Now, the player won't have direct knowledge of what all of these cards do, so I will fairly randomly say These two can go on the top, and these two will go on the bottom. I will put these like that, two at the bottom, and then one of these cards is dealt, which is the Six of Pentacles. Which I do not have up what they do. 1 second. Okay, the 6. I can look at the graveyard and choose 3 cards from it. Luckily we only have 3 in there. And I can... well, we have more than that, so I'll take these. Choose 3 cards, put 2 on the top, and 1 in the hand. So I can put... I will put this in my hand, and I will put this, the 7 on top, and the 5 beneath that. And now we are back in control. So as our next action, we will move over 1, so that will be our 3rd. Can't quite pick them up, 1 second. And we will find the Moon card with a King, Jack, Jack of Hearts cost. Now at the moment we don't have anything that we can buy, but that will change fairly soon enough. For our last action, we'll uncover this last card, cementing our path from the Fool to the World by uncovering the Strength card, which has a King, King, Jack of Clubs cost. Now we go on to the 3rd turn, and the system has its turn, so draw 1 card, which is our 7. Notice how we this is planned, or I planned it in a way that we'd have the 5, 6, 7 back, so we could do another combo if we so wished. And a Minor Arcana card, another Minor Arcana card is drawn, which is the 9 of Wands. This allows me to look at the deck of cards and pick out 2 major regents, in other words the court cards that are used in costs. So, given that we have we are on the Strength card and we have 2 out of the 3 cards required to complete it, I can look for the 3rd, which is the King of Clubs. There we go. 1 King of Clubs to the hand. And I can look on the board to see what other cards I can look to find. We have spades, we have a good amount of spade cards, but no revealed major arcana with a spade cost. However, at the bottom here we can see that the Devil and the Hierophant both have a diamond cost, of which we have 2 of the major arcana already there. So I will search for a Queen of Diamonds, to cover the rest of the cost of the Hierophant card. There we go. 1 Queen of Diamonds right there. So now it is the player's turn for action. I will spend these cards that I've just picked up. The King, King, Jack of clubs to capture the strength card, which we will use a dice to indicate. And now we can make the journey downwards to the Hierophant to pick that up. So I will move left as my second action to uncover the Empress with a Queen, Queen, Jack of diamonds cost. We can almost solve this, but we don't have a Jack of diamonds, so we'll have to go down to the Hierophant with our remaining 2 movement. So that is the end of the third turn. We're moving on to the fourth. We draw 1 card, which is the 5 of diamonds, and a minor arcana card is played, and that is the Ace of Wands, which again allows us to look at the top 4 cards, select 2 of them to go on the top and 2 on the bottom. I will, since I already have seen what the king cards can do, I'll choose to put that one at the top. I also choose the 2 of swords, and the other 2 can go on the bottom. So 2 on the top, 2 on the bottom, and 1 is dealt, which is the King of Cups, which will allow us to go searching for 2 more major regents. Now we already have the cost, or we already have 2 major regents in the spades, so it might be a good idea to complete that. So I'll take 1 spade, and it's not a good idea to go for another diamond, since these will be covered in the Hierophant's cost this turn. So what I can do instead is start something new. And looking at the board, we have a lot of hearts. So I might search for the Ace of Hearts, since that can be used as a substitute for any major arcana of that suit. There we go. And after we search, we shuffle. Okay, so now we're in control. We are on the Hierophant, so we can pay this cost immediately. And we can represent that we have captured it with a dice. Next, I will pay a combo of a 3 consecutive cards to play a new minor arcana, which was the 2 of swords, which we had before, which we knew was coming up, which allows us to draw 3 cards from the deck. We get a Queen and a Jack of Hearts, which pairs very well with the Ace of Hearts that we just picked up. However, there is nothing on the board that we can capture with that. So it is sensible now to try and uncover new cards. So for my first action, I will uncover the Emperor, which has a King, King, King of clubs cost. I will then take my third action to be uncovering this card, which is the Lovers card with a King, King, Queen of Spades cost. And for the last action, I will uncover this card. Which has a Queen, Queen, Jack of Hearts cost. And that will be the end of the 4th turn and entering into the 5th turn. So, draw one card. It is the 7 of Hearts. Draw Minor Arcana, which is the 8 of Pentacles. Now, this has a different effect depending on how many Minor Arcana cards have been drawn so far. So if we have a count, it's 9. So this allows us to look at the top 3 cards of the Minor Arcana deck and play one of them. So we have the 2 of Wands, the 10 of Swords, and the Knight of Pentacles. I will choose the 2 of Wands, since the 2 has a nice effect of letting us draw 3 cards, as we have seen. And as I've played that card before, I know that that's that result. Now, this gives us a 2, a 3, and another 9. And since we searched, we can shuffle this. And now, we are down to business on the 5th turn. We can use our Jack, Queen and Ace to fulfill the costs of the Hanged Man, with the Queen and Jack being used and the Ace substituting a Queen in this. So these go to the graveyard, and we have captured a 3rd card. What I will do now is I will use a match 3 combo. So I have 3 2s of any suit. What this allows me to do is do a scry of 5 cards, which is an MTG term for this. I get to look at the top 5 cards of the deck, and I get to put them on the top or bottom as I see fit. And I get to draw one of these cards afterwards. So, looking at the cards I have in my hand so far, probably the least valuable card or cards would be this 10. So that will probably go on the bottom. I will probably want to draw either this 5 or this 7, since I already have one in my hand. Or perhaps take a 4 so I can make a consecutive combo instead of a match 3 combo. And I think I'll do that. So I will put the 4 on the very top to be drawn, and then the 5 after that, and then the 4 after that, and the 7 and the 10 can go to the bottom. So I'll put these on the top, these on the bottom, and I will draw 1. That was my first action. Was that my second action? I think that was my second action. Losing track, sorry. So I will now take these 3, make a consecutive combo, and that will allow me, as my third action, to draw a card, a Minor Arcana card, and I get the 10 of Swords. Just compress these up a bit. This allows me to look at the top 2 Minor Arcana cards and choose to play one, and put the other at the bottom of the deck. I will choose to play the Queen of Swords and put the Knight of, I think it was pentacles at the bottom. The queen allows me to draw 5 cards. And you can see that we're really getting good circulation of our cards in the run. And now, for our last action of this turn, we will play a consecutive combo with this 3, 4 and 5, such that we can play another minor arcana, which is the 3 of Pentacles. This allows us to look at the top 9 cards of the deck It allows us to put 3 of them in our hand, and then it allows us to put 3 at the top and 3 at the bottom of the deck. So what would we want? We could take a 10 and an we could take a 10 and an 8, or just an 8, to make a consecutive combo here. And then another 10 and 8 to make another one. So I will take 2 8s and a 10 and an 8. Oh, 2 8s and a 10, sorry. Now for what's remaining, I'm not sure that there's too much of a matter, but we're having a few leftover smaller cards, so I will take the 4, 5 and 2 at the top and the remaining at the bottom. Okay. Player turn now. We are struggling a bit for regents, so what we're looking to do is just cycle through as many minor arcana effects as we can. So for our first action, we'll play our consecutive combo that we just did, or we just picked up. And this is the Ace of Pentacles. This allows us to draw the top 4 of a minor arcana, pick 2 to the top, 2 to the bottom, and draw 1. The Page of Cups, the 9 of Swords, the 5 of Pentacles, and the 4 of Pentacles. I believe I would want to use the Page at the moment, and the 9 of Swords, and I'll put the other 2 at the bottom. I'll actually put the 9 of Swords at the top, so that's played immediately. 2 on the top, 2 on the bottom, draw 1, which is the 9 of Pentacles. This allows us to search for 2 major regents as we see fit through this deck. And what we're looking for right now could possibly be another King of Spades for the Lovers card, and then something to start another major arcana. So 1 king here, and since we have a Queen of Spades left over, I will search for perhaps an Ace of Spades for something that can supplement that. Ace of Spades there. So for my second action, I will move down to the Lovers card, and I will pay the cost here, which is 2 kings and a Queen of Spades. which allows us to capture a 4th card. And then we can reorganize our hand a bit and see we have 2 more cracks at consecutive combos. So let's do that. A 4 and a 4, 3 and 2. Sacrifice those. Draw another minor arcana. And we get the Page of Cups. The page allows us to move anywhere on the board. So I believe we shall move somewhere central, which is the Hermit, which is a King, King, Jack of Diamonds cost. I believe that was also a new action. So we have 1 more, which we'll spend on another combo for our last action of the 5th turn. Allows us to draw again into an 8 of Swords. Now the 8 of Swords has a different result depending on how many minor arcana have been played. So at the moment what it can do is lets us look at the top 10 cards of the deck and take 2 of them, and the rest are shuffled into the deck. So there's 10. Now let's look at what we have. Not too much. We have 1 Regent, so that's probably a go-to, a gimme. And what's left isn't very entertaining, so we'll see that we have a 9 in our hand and try and make another combo by taking this 8 and the rest shuffled into the deck. Okay, on to the 6th turn. We draw a card. That's our 5 of Spades. And we uncover our minor arcana, which is the 10 of Cups, which lets us look at the top 2 minor arcana, and we can put them on, we can play 1 and put 1 at the top or bottom of the deck. So we have the Page of Pentacles and the Knight of Wands. I will choose to put the Page, or play the Page and put the Knight at the bottom. Ooh. I didn't see any of those cards, don't worry. And the Page allows us to move anywhere, which I will choose here. Where we find Judgment with a King, King, Queen of Clubs requirement. We only have 1 of those at the moment, so that's unfortunate. So, off to the races we go. First action, we'll move 1. And find Justice with a King, Queen, Jack of Spades cost, which is useful to us since we have 2 of those. And we will use our second action to move, and third to move again to over here, which is the Temperance card with a Queen, Queen, Jack of Clubs cost. I'll move 1 more time back to the Hermit just to stall here a bit, since I don't want to uncover all of the cards, but I don't have any actions to take at the moment. So we are moving on to the 7th turn. We draw 1 card, 4, and we draw a minor arcana. We see the 5 of Swords, where we can look at the top 5 cards of the deck, discard 3 from our hand and choose 3 new cards to take their place. See what we get. Now what we could do here is we can take this 10 to make a consecutive combo. Or take a 10 and an 8, since we'd have to discard 3 cards, which is looking like this. And then take a random card extra with us. So that's what we'll do. Discard 3 from our hand. Replace them with 3 here. And that. And discard the last 2. Okay, so off to the races once more. Our first action, we'll take a consecutive combo, 8, 9, 10. Move that here. Play our minor arcana, which is the 6 of cups. This allows us to look at the graveyard, choose 3 cards, add 1 to our hand, and put 2 on the top of the deck. So, given what we're looking for at the moment, we are looking for a spade that can finish off the justice card, which we have found right here, the queen, and something to supplement this jack that's sitting on all on its lonesome in our hand, which we can take the king and potentially another king. So we put 1 of these in our hand and 2 on the top of the deck. That was our first action. For our second action, we move over here to the justice. For our third action, we pay this cost. And we have now received justice, which is our 5th card. But however, we are struggling with cards. So what can we do? What we can do is we can sacrifice these 2 cards to draw 3 more. Although that's not advised, since we have a major regent here. So what we'll do, we'll skip the rest of this turn and go straight to turn 8, where we draw 1 card, the next card that we were looking for, and play our minor arcana, which happens to be the 9 of cups, which allows us to look for 2 major regent cards from the deck and add them to our hand. Now, what are we looking to complete? We have a king and a jack of clubs. Either we find an extra jack of clubs for the tower card at the bottom, which I do believe is at the bottom of the graveyard actually, so we won't find it in here. And I think that's the only jack card that we are 1 regent off. So what we can do is summon the wild card, which is the Joker. That will be resolved after I pick my 2nd card from this effect. Which I will choose an ace of diamonds. Now, shuffle this since we searched. The Joker is a special card, it's a wild card of course. The Joker, when it is seen for the first time, it allows you to search through the graveyard and pick out any card from the graveyard and put it back into your hand. And the special thing about the Joker is it doesn't go to the graveyard, it gets shuffled right back into the deck. So what the Joker allows us to do is go through the graveyard and allows us to pick out the last card we need for the tower. So for our last action of this turn, we'll move down to the tower card. On to turn 9, we draw one card, the King of Diamonds, which is very good since we just picked up another diamond. And we draw this, which is the Page of Swords, which is a unfortunate card since it requires us to move to another major arcana, which we don't quite want to do, but we have to. So what do? We'll move one over, and off to the races we go. For our first action, we'll move over to the tower. For our second action, we will pay off the cost of the tower. So off that goes. And there we go. 6th major arcana captured. Now again, we're running low on cards here. So we'll have to figure out something for that. For now, I will move us 2 spaces to the top to be at the Hermit, and that will be our last 2 actions of the turn. So moving on to turn 10, we draw ourselves a card, which is V6, and draw a minor arcana, which is the Knight of Cups, which is an interesting card. What the Knight of Cups does is we can choose a card on the board and that card gets flipped over, and every card in a diamond around that also gets flipped over, and you get to see all of the uncovered cards just for a second. The middle card stays uncovered, or if it was uncovered before, it covers itself up. And then what allows you to do is to move one card and replace it with another. So let's see what it looks like in practice. I will choose this card. So I get to uncover this. It is the Chariot. I now get to look at these cards in a diamond. That is the Star and the Sun. And then they get flipped back over. Now I get to choose one card for the Chariot to be switched with, and I will choose at random, since it doesn't really affect me too much since I don't have the cards to capture it anyway. I'll choose the High Priestess. So these 2 switch places. And since this was in the diamond, this gets flipped over and is hidden, removing it from the seed and making it so we can cover up cards that we might not want to see, whose effects might affect, or whose effects might change the world that we play in after the Sabbath. So what do? We're short on cards, so we sacrifice 2 to pick up 3. And immediately we find ourselves a Joker. And the Joker, it must be played immediately as soon as you see it. Using the Joker, we search through the graveyard and find something we want. Right now we're looking for a king or a jack of diamonds to pay this hermit cost, and that's what we find. And then the Joker gets shuffled immediately back into the deck. Now, let's see. That was our first action. Our second action will be to pay off the cost of the Hermit. And our last two actions will be to move to the Judgment card. On to turn 11, we draw one card, which is luckily a Joker. You saw me shuffle it, right? So that allows us to look through the graveyard again, pick out a, what are we looking for? Possibly a queen of clubs, possibly a jack, since both of those are banished at the moment and there's only two in the deck. But for now, we will take a jack, since there is no. Actually, no. We'll take a king. And this, of course, is shuffled back into the deck. Then we draw our Minor Arcana, which is the Five of Cups. This allows us to look at the top 5 cards of the deck, sacrifice 3 in our hand, and take a new 3. So, we found another Joker, which we will use in a second. First of all, these 3 get sacrificed. Though for this demonstration, I will choose not to use the Joker. I'll choose these 3 cards to move to my hand, and the last are discarded. What? Okay, we're in business now. Back to the player actions. What I will do now is to use an action to reset the graveyard. I'll sacrifice my entire hand to shuffle the graveyard into the deck and draw 5 cards. This is to stop the player from getting stuck anywhere. So if they don't have a hand they want, they can just sacrifice it all and get cards back and continue playing on. So, sacrifice a hand. And get 5 back. What do we get? We get 2 regents, very good. And 2 extra cards. Or 3 extra cards. 2 of which, for my first action, I will use to sacrifice to get 3 cards. It's my first action. 2, 2, and 8. For my second action, I'll do that again. 2 more cards, sacrificed to get 3. That's a 8, 9, 10, which for my third action I will use to sacrifice for a combo to draw a Minor Arcana card, which is the 3 of Swords, which allows us to look at the top 9 cards of the deck, pick 3 in our hand, 3 to the top of the deck, 3 to the bottom of the deck. I believe that's 9. Yep. See what we have. We have a lot of regents, luckily enough. Possibly enough to capture something new. Let's see what we have. We have 3 spades that we can use, a queen and a jack, although there's nothing on the board that could possibly be captured using those. We have a jack here of clubs, which could have been used for the tower, but is no longer applicable. So what I think I'll do for now is take the jack, ace, and queen of spades for my hand. I will put the remaining regents on top. I'll put the jack of clubs on the top with the 2 king of diamonds below, and the remaining 3 regular cards go to the bottom. Now what I'll do is I'll use my last remaining action on this turn to move up to the temperance and move on to turn 12. We'll draw our jack back and draw a minor arcana, which is the Queen of Wands, which allows us to draw 5. See what we have. We have our 2 kings, what we wanted, and some cards back to use as fodder. Okay. I will use our first action to move up to find death. King, queen, jack of hearts cost, not useful to us. Second action, I will use another movement to find the star, which is jack, jack, queen of spades cost, which I'll use my third action to buy. This card was revealed when we played the knight card, so I knew it was there. I knew generally what costs it was, so I tried to seek that out after I saw I had come across a lot of spade regents. So capture there. Now we don't quite have enough to find anything new, so I will pay a consecutive combo here to draw a new minor arcana, which is the 4 of cups, which allows me to look for 1 card in the deck, any one, and move it to my hand. But what are we looking for at the moment? Possibly a there's nothing quite at the moment that we can get, so we would have to take a risk on a new regent, which, given that we have 3 clubs already, I will say the Queen of Clubs is a good bet. So we have searched, so we shuffle. Now we are in, well, we have 1 more action of this turn, which I'll use to move to the High Priestess as our last action. So down to turn 13, which is the last turn. We draw 1, which is the 8. Draw a minor arcana, which is the 7 of wands, which is a repeat of the last card played, which was the 4 of cups, which allows us to again look through the deck for something we might want, which possibly would be another Queen of Spades, or of clubs even. Or we could hedge our bets on finding something new with these 2 cards here, but I think the safest option, given that we have only 4 more actions left of the game, is to guarantee a new card is captured. So we shuffle. We drop all of our cards. We drop them all again. Uno momento. We shuffle our cards. And now we're off to the races. So, action 1, 2, and 3 will be moving to the Temperance card. And our last action of the game will be buying the Temperance card with our 2 queens of clubs and a jack of clubs. Meaning that as our last action of the 13th turn, we have not only created a path from the Fool to the World, we have captured, let's see, 3, 6, 9 major arcana. So that was the end of the Sabbath game. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.